Many of us like to begin each rehearsal with a slow, sensitive piece to simply say hello to the students and to get to know each other in an emotional context. This semester, the piece for us is Rhosymedre by Vaughan Williams. The second flute part in measure 6 can usually be more pronounced than one would normally hear it. One of the reasons for this is because the flute is playing notes that are below F on top of the staff, and as a result they really need to play with as much brilliance and vibrato as possible to keep the pitch up on those notes and also to add some color to the sound down low. Many people think that the melody in this piece takes place in the clarinet, but the clarinet part is actually counterpoint to the real melody that takes place in the whole notes and half notes found in the brass at measure 9. Long notes in this melody often lead players to take breaths in the middle of the phrase, but I would suggest that you try to elide the phrases to create longer range musical goals. For example, try to take the dotted whole note in measure 10 and make sure that it's got just a little bit of a secret or slight crescendo going to the half note at the end of the measure to create a 4-bar phrase instead of a 2-bar phrase. Tuba and low reed parts have tenuto markings over the quarter notes. I would encourage those players to play those notes on one breath, not breathing every note, but trying to almost think of that being a horizontal line, very much like the horn melody that takes place at the same time.
Sounds a little too pretty, and there's a little too Red Riding Hook, and I need a little more Big Bad Wolf. How about 25? We'll start there. Take your pick. 1, 2, 3.
band room, we like to speak of open releases and closed releases. And closed release would be like DAT or dot with a T at the back part of the note. And an open release would be a DAH or a da with an H at the back part of the note, which will help add some resonance and sonority to the sound and release into silence in a way that's much more proper and fitting with the overall phrase.
So it has some passion to it. All right, I want to try that. And the flutes, you guys probably need to push through the whole note at 35. Okay, so misplace where it says crescendo. And by the way, it says, if you look at my score, you can see it says crescendo all the way down. Everybody's parked in exactly the same spot. Well, music doesn't really line up that way. It's good, boring stuff does, but interesting stuff doesn't. So let's see if we can put our crescendo one bar earlier. Can we do that? So it starts on the beginning of measure 35 instead of there. And so basically the same sinister aspects that you're hearing from the saxophones in 34, we want to try to make that G change color. So the G starts really dark, and as the G goes on, it begins to get more and more brilliance and more vibrato in it, okay? And so crescendo, excuse me, not crescendo, well it does crescendo, but it also slurs from the G to the C across to make that a little more meaningful. Horn needs to be careful in 35. On that entrance to the D, can you crescendo the, same thing for you, what I just said to flutes, can you crescendo the A to the D, but don't play the D loud?
At 35?
Yeah. So be like a singer going, Ave Maria. So going to the top note and backing off a little bit so you get some room to go from there. Does that make sense? How about 25, one more time, right? Pick up note?
Generally, I always like to make the pickup notes the most noble notes of the phrase in order to really make a phrase sparkle. The first cornet part at measure 38 begins to test the range of young players. As a result, I would encourage them to try to play those notes as softly yet as comfortably as possible so that it doesn't sound forced to play too soft, and certainly that they're going to be aware of how their part needs to fit into everybody else at this point. Often this sound can get kind of bright, and we want to try to still keep it dark and blended with other voices. Sometimes our warm-up is the best part of the day, so I would encourage you to do the same, and Rhosymedre is a wonderful piece to do this with.